Welcome to Biz Dev Live. This is the Biz D with the C. I am so excited to bring you Cindy Novotny today. She is amazing. She is your radical mentor. She is somebody that is not only somebody that you need in your life and your business for training, but she's somebody that you need to see at an event. She is truly captivating, and I'm really excited to dig into a deep conversation with her today. Stay with me. We'll be right back after the Biz Dev theme.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
As the founder of Master Connection Associates, Cindy Novotny is an international icon in the hospitality industry. Her specialties are leadership, sales, and customer service excellence. A radical mentor for many, Cindy's straightforward, no-nonsense leadership approach delivers results and changes behavior. Her style, expertise, and approach led to a board of directors position with the Miss America Foundation to assist in moving the organization to a new level. She is recognized by the Association for Talent Development as one of 9 most powerful, innovative, and passionate speakers in the industry. HSMAI awarded Cindy this 2019 Lifetime Achievement Award in Hospitality for her exemplary contribution to the industry. Her ability to close the gap with senior executives and line employees has earned her firm a revered reputation in many industries. Master Connection Associates is a premier international consulting and training firm specializing in service, sales, and leadership performance. The firm's expertise contributed to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company earning an unprecedented 2 Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Awards. On behalf of the Ritz-Carlton, MCA formed and operated the Ritz-Carlton Learning Institute. During almost 14 years of operation, the Institute worked with countless companies wishing to benchmark the Ritz-Carlton and improve their own customer service delivery. Today, clients include hotels, travel advisors, automotive, legal, healthcare, retail, financial, real estate, and even community police departments. Cindy is in the final stages of her second book, My Secret to Stamina, which will be out in late 2020. Cindy, thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Thank you for having me, Cameron. This is great. And, you know, my book, Late 2020, it's kind of late 2020. I am almost done, but it's like it came fast.
No, I hear you. I think one of the amazing pieces of 2020, because we're all like, under it, but understanding like there's so much opportunity out there. And when you find it, you get real busy real fast. I know my pivot has taken me to a place where, I have a staffing business and I have Biz Dev Live. We're doing networking on Tuesdays. For anybody that's watching, we'll be doing that tomorrow at 12 Eastern. And the idea that, this is a time where we can't be moving forward and progressing is just silly. There's so much to do. And I know you talk a lot about that. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now to help businesses move forward into this?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've said for quite a long time since March when this all started that I wasn't going to pivot out of our business. So we continued to work with our clients on training and on platforms like this and doing virtual training. And although it does not replace in person, it has, created a lot new content. So we're doing presentation certification because we found a lot of people just to be able to attend a Zoom corporate meeting are having trouble just looking at how they're present and how they pay attention. So we're doing all of our sales classes. We are doing live online with our clients. And we sometimes have upward to maybe 50 people, which we would have in a classroom. We do breakouts. We do them 4 days long, although they're like 4 hours a day. So you're getting like a 2-day class in 4 days. There's breaks and interactive exercises, and they work in teams. So we have adapted, although this is not forever for me, because I think it's not the way people engage. They learn. Looking at each other in the eyes is the best way. But that's what we're doing. I have been traveling. I just got back from 2 months of being on the road in actual hotels, working, with live, employees. And we had a huge project we did on the East Coast where 8 of our trainers were there for 6 weeks, and we trained 900 people to reopen a gorgeous, luxury resort. And so that's what we've been doing. I mean, we pretty much go where they ask us to go, and we do what we got to do, and it's working. Yeah. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. I was dealing with some of my coworkers here. And
that's called adapting.
Yeah, exactly.
We get it.
Tell me about, because I think it's really interesting. We're dealing with some interesting, challenging times. Obviously, back in March, the world flipped, and we're currently in a weird situation because there's so much positive news about the upcoming presence of a vaccine, but we're digging into a winter in some of the most populated places in the world, which doesn't bode well as people move indoors instead of being outside. Talk to us about what that training has kind of looked like for the hospitality industry. How are you preparing some of these hotels to get ready for what's coming right now?
Well, most hotels have had to get very, very creative. And I also am partners in a restaurant here in Orange County. We built an outside deck that seated 60 people. I mean, we took lanes of traffic and created this incredible experience, which we now just tented, even though it's Southern California. We've got heat lamps and all of that, but then the winter brings rain and things like that. So we are set up and ready to go. We've worked with many different resorts that have so much outdoor space, but in colder climates, it's kind of like, what are we going to do? So I have seen some really clever things, and we're working with teams to help them with this creativity. These clear bubble kind of igloos that I saw, I saw it on the East Coast long ago in the Hamptons in the winter at some of these resorts where you have that, it's so freezing you couldn't, be out there at all because you're right on the shore. But we're seeing these in cities. So where there might be a rooftop terrace, there's no reason you can't put a few of those igloos in. There's no reason you can't put some tents. We've seen some really cool base camp tents that have been put in and put outside kind of in front of hotels. So everyone's got to get very clever. And then you have to get more creative with room service, because room service shouldn't be a negative experience. You should be able to deliver in a really cool kind of fashion what anybody's ordering and leave it right there in front of the door, so you don't have to be engaged with people if everyone's, if it's still a very bad COVID situation. But I think that's what we're working with. And then we're training the employees on how to give the right answers and not act so afraid. The one thing that we can't do is add to the fear of this, and not, we've got to be able to say, no, we have this completely under control, not the virus. We're not in medical here, but our experience. If you're coming to our restaurant, if you're coming to our hotel, if you're going to be shopping, we can do this for you. Let me tell you what we can do and how we can make it happen. So that's really some of the training. And it was throughout the summer, a lot of the brainstorming sessions we did with senior leadership on what are we going to do. And I have to say, sometimes you just have to get out of your own way.
Because, I love that. Yeah. I think there's two things that are that present sort of a dichotomy. So, we have this term hygiene theater, and that's looked at a little bit in a negative context because, there's only so much you can do. And so we're just going to pretend. And then there's the other side of it, which I kind of think about, if I'm going to a resort, if I'm going to a hotel, if I'm going to a restaurant, to me, proper hygiene and hygiene theater, having everybody on the same page we always talk about in hospitality, we're on stage, so having those answers. Yes, it's scary times, but providing that united front, I think, is so important. So getting your cast members all on the same page, because that's what hospitality is theater. And yes, we're going to deal with some challenges on the back end, but we want to make everybody feel comfortable on the front end, right? I mean, I think is that appropriate?
Yeah. And I think your point of theater is very important. And, you know, I work for Disney too. Did you work for Disney? It's like cast member. I work for
I've been to Disney several times. Never worked.
Yeah. So I think the problem is not everybody thinks of it as on stage, and that's the problem. Their personal opinions are getting involved when they shouldn't. You can't have a guest say, "So, I mean, what's your thoughts? Is the hotel doing a good job?" The answer has to be yes, they are. And if you'd like, I can give you any information. I can send it to you. Many customers that we've interviewed over the course of this time, from both a select service type of hotel, so your Holiday Inn Expresses, Hilton Garden Inns, all the way to luxury, because those are the two segments of our clients that did very well during this, that they ran full, they had great rates, and things were good. One of the things that we had to explain to employees is it's not your position to show your personal opinion, you know? So I've been very clear that we have to feel good about travel. We have to feel good. And if we don't, then maybe you should get out of the business for a while. I had a very young travel agent say to me during a webinar that I was doing with his company, you know, I don't think I'll ever get on a plane again. And I quite frankly said, so just so you know, you're in the wrong job, because if you're not going to get on a plane again and you're talking to customers, either never say that again or get a different job. So it is theater, to your point. And it's not about being fake. It's about, I have a job to deliver an incredible experience. If people have chosen to come to my hotel or my restaurant or my resort during this time, it means they aren't afraid. They want to come. And I have the job of making that a great experience. And that's on stage.
You know, I appreciate that. And I think, you know, folks have to understand, you know, we've been through this before. Yes, it was 100 years ago, 1918, but, you know, in 2019, we were on planes and we were going to hotels. So we'll be back in planes and we'll be back in hotels again. Just a quick note to kind of give some of my street cred. I did walk Disney. I walked Mickey Mouse on stage at MPI. So I did a little bit with Disney.
Okay, good. I love that. I love that.
All right. So talk to me. You have such a rich, fantastic background. Why did you get into this crazy hospitality industry and into presenting and training? Talk to us about your past and a little bit why you're passionate about what you do.
So I went to school and, you know, I thought I was, going to be in business. That's what I was doing, you know, get a degree in business and go into sales or management, whatever you do. And so my parents lived outside of Chicago in a suburb called Dundee, Illinois. I was at the University of Iowa, and I went home at summers and I worked. I was a phys ed major my first year in school, which that kind of didn't last forever at all, because me teaching gym was not going to be really hard. So I went home, as you do. I mean, at least some kids do. And I got a job as a lifeguard, and I got a job working at this resort for Second City, which is part of a, you know, Second City from Chicago, but they were in a troupe that was working at a resort called the Chateau Louise. And I got a job managing that theater and the box office, and I loved it. So the combination of being a lifeguard, then working that at night, I just loved it. Those are the days of, you know, Dan Belushi and, you know, unbelievable, or Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi and John was still alive then. And those guys were all just there and hanging around and doing stuff. So I fell in love with that industry. So hence I worked there every summer. And then when I finished school, then the gentleman that owned the resort said, you really should work here. And, you know, my parents thought I was nuts because they thought that's like a summer job. And I went to work for him. And then he had private key clubs, which were called the Gaslight Clubs, which were in New York and Chicago and St. Louis. And they started in England. It was during Prohibition. You know, you had a key to get in. Who sent you, Joe? So it would be like a Playboy, except the girls all sang. So they all wore really cool it was from kind of burlesque days, you know, and sang. And nice. a great steakhouse, big cocktails, men and women there all the time, but a private key club. And I worked there for a few years. And then I took his troupe, his Gaslight Girls, on tour. And I did that. And then I started a meeting planning kind of event company and called Master Plans, which hence I sold to my partner, and it's now it's a DMC in Chicago. And I did it, but way before the Helms Briscoes and the Conference Directs of the world, we did like hotel repping and restaurant repping, and it was very successful. And then I got married. My husband moved to Houston, and of course I went to a hotel, and that's it.
All right. And then talk to me, because I mean, you laid out so much there. You built a company, you sold it. I mean, essence of biz dev, right? Talk to me about being an entrepreneur, moving from working from for somebody else to being an entrepreneur. What sort of motivated you to do that?
Well, I have always been a very independent worker because I've always been a straight commission salesperson. So when you work straight commission, you're almost entrepreneurial because there's no other way to go but that way, right? So you have to think about, I'm always working for myself anyway because I'm on straight commission. So first is that. People that try to become an entrepreneur that only ever were an employee and were excited when it was lunchtime and excited when it was a weekend and never really worked weekends and they would never make it really good being an entrepreneur. And I've said this in every talk I've ever given about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. The difference was that your insurance, your perks, your benefits, that was a big deal. So I had a job, and when I met my husband, and he's always been straight commission sales his entire career. And so he stayed straight commission sales, but he had benefits and things like that. So I kept a job along with him, different companies for a good few years into our marriage. And then at about 8 years of marriage, when we had our daughter, I knew that I could do this. And I knew the only difference was I was not going out and repping hotels. I was going to start a training company, which that was out of my comfort zone. So my dad had a great deal of like influence on that with me because he was vice president of learning and development for Shell Oil Company. He helped me and kind of grounded me on what I needed to do. I took all kinds of facilitation and adult education courses so I would know how to facilitate and lead. We stuck to our wheelhouse, which is sales, leadership, and service. We didn't try to be anything we weren't. We brought on great partners at the beginning, not in our business. It's always been privately held, but partners that we could have a strategic alliance with to do areas maybe that I wasn't as good at. And that, of course, is what flourished. But the beginning of that was very difficult because now I'd given up back then, the hotels, as a director of marketing, I had a company car. I mean, I laugh out loud now thinking of that. And, I gave up my country club. I had a country club membership, a health fitness membership. I had, a company car. I gave all that up, and my husband kept his job, but it was straight commission, but we had our benefits. So that is the biggest thing. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. I just had to mention that it was interesting of that moment that you were mentioning that company car like multiple times.
Because it's hilarious.
I feel the loss of that.
Oh, it's hilarious. Imagine directors of marketing today in hotels having a company car. Oh my gosh. This was back in the days of Westin just being Westin owned, privately held, a corporate office in Seattle. And yeah, I just laugh at those. A company car and a country club membership and a fitness. Like most hotels now, they don't even let you use your own gym at the hotel.
Yeah, I think the days of corporate ownership and profits for shareholders above anything else has sort of taken all that away.
Oh yeah.
So I love the detail, and I love that you talk about crediting your father with pushing you on the education and training piece. I think we all have that moment in our career where we're looking for those confidence building moments so that we can step out on our own. I've certainly had that. When did you know that like this was the thing for you versus, again, I know you said you were working in commission and that's very much on the entrepreneurial track, but when was it like, what was the thing that sort of lit you up and said, I just got to do this?
I think probably I had, my daughter was a year old. As a director of marketing in a very busy hotel, I would leave, and I drove an hour. I live in, Orange County, California. So I would drive an hour to the office, get there. I was always there by between 7 and 7:30 every day. You'd sit in nonsensical meetings. I mean, like we'd go on and on and on about just like, oh my God, like we have to talk about this again, flip charts and this and, strategic planning and, the October annual budgeting. I was like, okay, all right, at some point, and then you can't leave at 5 o'clock, I mean, are you kidding? When you're done, it's like 6, 7 o'clock, and then there's entertaining clients. And so I, one day just said, to my husband, I said, I was already doing training with Weston. So Weston had an outside company, and then they would have some of their better directors of marketing. And I was that person. I got director of marketing of the year at one point with Weston. That wanted to be, with the young new people coming in. So every month for 3 days, I would train and fly somewhere, at a Weston, and we'd have classrooms of people, and there was an outside company doing it, but then they always had, a corporate director, and I was one of that team that did that. And I loved it. And I loved, I was still up early, but I would just go down the elevator from my guest room to the meeting room. And although I was gone from my daughter for 3 days, I literally recognized that I would spend more time with her actually doing this than leaving the house at 6:30 in the morning, getting home at 6:37, seeing her a few hours, and then just the weekend. And I said, I was never going to be a stay-at-home mom, but I said, I can do this and I can make it work. And Weston, in all fairness, gave me a shot because they said, first of all, they didn't want to do it because you don't take a revenue producing director out of their job and put them in HR. And I said, I want to go into training. I'm good at this and I should be the one. Why do you have all these other random people? Why don't you just let it be me? And so for the first 2 years.
What you're talking about there is like the consultant versus the internal person, right?
No, the consultant stayed, but I got to they didn't have any more me's of Weston. I was the only one. And so for 2 years, I did that. And so I trained with Weston for 2 years. And then the contract with the consultant was up. So because I was balancing still doing some work with Weston, in my job, but they had given me a lot more flexibility. And then when the contract came up, I bid on getting the business. I said, I can do this. I can do this. Let me do this. And they did. And I had a contract with Weston for 1 year that was a non-compete. Because now I've quit my job as director of marketing. Now I'm doing just training for Weston, but I couldn't go out and sell to other companies. After my 1 year, then it flourished. And I started calling on other hotel companies, and I'd say within 2 years, we truly were dominating the industry in hospitality training and sales, leadership, and service.
Yeah, I think that story is amazing. And I definitely noticed that in my stint in corporate America before I went off on my own and created my own company, that idea of, and I was asking that question about the consultant thing too, because you sort of see that trend that, you can be in a company, whatever salary you're making, and suddenly they're respecting these outside voices more than yours because they're the professionals or the industry standard. Meanwhile, are they doing anything more than what you're doing? Not necessarily. And that's a great reason to sort of
right.
Be like, hey, maybe my calling lies elsewhere. Maybe I can do this for all these companies and make this buck. The idea of lifestyle, when you talk about entrepreneurship, I think it has this kind of dual side thing. There's people that think, you're going to go be an entrepreneur. You get to make your own schedule. It's all days. Well, that's not exactly the truth. It's hard and it can be tough to be the boss, especially when you add staff and you're paying them and not getting paid yourself and all that kind of stuff. But the idea of being able to spend time the right way with family. I love when you talk about, I'd go away for 3 days, but it was still a better fit and that sort of leads to kind of one of the takeaways that I think you want to talk about, the value proposition for what you're doing for your clients, right? That idea of what is actually valuable. And I know for myself too, I work from home. as I started that, 9 years ago with Toth Event Staffing, and I get to see my kids every day as they come home from school. I got my coworkers dealing with that, stuff now. But the idea that you actually get to enjoy a little bit more life. It's less an hour commute every day to the office and more about, I'm going to go away for 3 days, but it's going to be a high value thing that I actually enjoy and brings me back to my family excited, with something to talk about instead of complaining about my commute through I-95 traffic or whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I really value that piece of it. And I think it's really good for people to hear that, you can create this lifestyle. It's not for everybody, right? But you can create this lifestyle. Talk to me about, we're in challenging times right now. Pandemic is a good time to start something new. What are you encouraging people to do with their business to kind of get through this moment? The next year is going to look a little different than previous years. What are you talking people through?
So, one of the things I think everybody has to pay some good attention to is that you have to stay true to what you absolutely are good at and love doing. If you're a salesperson in a hotel and you've been furloughed or you've been laid off, I personally would go back to that hotel and I would say, look, let me work on straight commission and look at all the different, because we don't do this in the hotel industry, seriously, and say, I can do this. I mean, how do the Helms Briscoes and all my friends at Conference Direct, they're working straight commission. Nobody's paying them. And yet they were the ones that broke away and went out and did it. Now, out of all the ones that broke away and went out to do it, not all of them were successful because not all of them can bring home the bacon. So first and foremost, you need to be able to show your stuff. That's that value proposition I talk about. What value do you bring to your client or to your business? There's never been a better time to look at what that is. And if you look at how to create a value proposition for anything, a value proposition consists of looking at the issue. So if I am a furloughed salesperson and they furloughed me because the company's not paying, they can't afford to pay me. Maybe I'm still got my insurance. All right. Because that's what some of the companies have done with the furlough, but laid off, totally done. I have to look at what issues does that hotel have. Well, one of the first issues is they're running a low occupancy, depending on where they are, okay? If they're a resort and they haven't been running a low occupancy, they still had to lower because they're not able to have all their services open, and their spa and their fitness center might not be at the same level. So then you look at the issues and you come up with actions, which is the second step in a value proposition, that will solve those issues. Same thing I did with our clients. So I look at our travel agent community that I've been working with for many, many years, okay, and helping them build their business. And how do you go out and sell, and how do you find new customers? During this, it's been awful because if you think about it, it's over. Like, I sold cruises and I specialized in cruises and I specialized in European vacations. And it's like, it just stopped. So after I got through the first 2 months of force majeure and cancellations and dealing with all of that, then what? So we went to them and did the same thing. What issues? They can't find clients. Why? Because they don't know how to reach out. They, in many cases, never reached out. So we worked with them on very creative ideas that actually brought them business, to the point that we did all of that free at the beginning to now we're actually getting paid to do that from many of these same clients. So that's what I suggest people do. Figure out what you're really good at. Now, this is where you have to put your money where your mouth is, because there's a lot of people that had a good talk because they worked at the right hotel, the right destination, the right venue at the right time, and the leads just came flying in. How can you go out and make a difference when no leads will be flying into you? Because all the leads that are going to come in are going to come into that one person that's being paid at the hotel. You need to be able to go to them and say, look, here's what I can do. I can work on filling the hotel with different types of business. I can come up with some creative ideas. That's what number one thing. Number two, you need to look for other industries that really appreciate your industry. So I'm going to talk just hospitality. So assisted living, luxury, living, like senior living, they also got hit very difficult. There's a lot that are, because of the baby boomers all getting older, there's so much ownership and asset management that has gotten engaged to that. There's an example of adapting, because it's exactly what we do. Property management, same thing. If you look at companies like First Service Residential, which is a client of ours, huge, probably the largest luxury residential property management company in the country. They love to hire GMs from hotels. They love to hire salespeople that work in leasing, because you understand the concept of what you're selling. Obviously, real estate is another one, but you have to figure out what you're really good at in order to be able to go make a difference in someone's life or in their business and add value. So those are just some of the suggestions.
I think that's amazing. What are you saying to the hotel folk, the folks that are, lost, they've been furloughed, now maybe they've been laid off? You say that to them, and because I can hear them saying it, right? I can say, well, I don't want to work for free. Right. There's nobody buying. I don't want to work for free.
Right. Well, that's that short-sighted mentality. First of all, people are buying, and people are moving, and people are having meetings. Small meetings are up 67%. You can go get a job maybe with an audiovisual company that's doing a lot of blended learning and hybrid learning. To say that means that you were just an employee mentality, and you wouldn't make it past the first interview with me, because I'd be like, guess what? I've worked for free for a long, long time, not just during this. Because when you're an entrepreneur, by the way, and you're not bringing anything in, you're getting up every day and you're working. If you're a straight commission salesperson, okay, you are working for free until you finally sell something. My dad, again, is a big mentor, as you can tell, in my life. And he sold copy machines for 3M while he was putting himself through college. And, I was a little girl, so I listened and watched all this. And he would have this grid on the refrigerator in our kitchen, and it had the days of the month, 1 to 30 or 31 or whatever, how many months. And he would come home, and there would either be a check or an X in that when he got home from work that day. A check meant he sold something and life was happy and it was good. The X meant, oh my gosh, if there was too many X's in a row, he knew he was going to have to go out and have a killer week. Okay. The mentality of I'm not going to work for free, or I can't afford not. Well, first of all, you're not getting paid anyway. So there's two things you can do. One is you can go, there's a lot of people hiring just for jobs, working in a grocery store, working, driving FedEx. I mean, there's jobs. So if you need money, there are jobs out there that you can do. Okay. But if you, and I've said this before too, by the way, and this goes to more, executive kind of people, not a line employee, that we're helping them differently. But if you've got to always have enough cash to weather a storm. And I've learned that from my parents. My husband is like the biggest on that. You pay yourself first, that goes in the bank and you don't touch it. And then you start to figure out how to make money so you can have a little bit of fun. And that's why so many people are really so over the top, because they didn't have enough cash to weather the storm. So they just went from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck and lived so beyond their means. So no one's going to work for free. You're going to work until you bring something in and then you get paid. Now, if you don't have the grit to bring something in, sorry. I mean, that means you got to go back, look in the mirror and go, wow, was I good? I have to say there are some people that, like, you were just lucky for a very long period of time. And now you got to go out and make something happen.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that so much. And I think both the advice about striking out, maybe, you're not going to be in your comfort zone because you're used to it. But if you were a high performer before, there's no reason that you won't be a high performer now. So take that advice. And if you weren't a high performer before, let this push you to be a high performer now, right? Take that advice. And then I also love the piece about, and I've been talking about this all till I turn blue, but this idea of saving and making sure that you are ready for the storm. And if you didn't do it before, start doing it now, right? You got an employment check coming in, put that money away, because it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when the next pandemic is, when the next terrorist attack is, when the next thing. We know the financial downturn is coming at some point again. We'll be up, we'll be down. Having your savings, having your war chest available and ready to go makes life so much easier. And the idea that it starts making those decisions really a lot more impactful because now you're in an investment mindset versus a survival mindset, right? I love
Correct.
that. Love that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how to stay positive in the face of all the negative news and stuff that's out there.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I made it like a rule in our company because we did keep many of our people working, and we're a small privately held company. We did have to furlough some of the trainers because we're not going as much. But again, just, for 6 weeks, I had 8 of them working. So it was all good. But I said to everybody, if you still want to be on the team, and I call it the today team, the tomorrow team, then there can be no negativity online. I don't care if it's politics. I don't care if it's religion. I don't care if it's about the COVID virus. Like, if you're going to put stuff out there and think it's funny, it's not going to work. We've got to stay very much focused, laser focused on coming out of this stronger than we might have even gone into it. So I made that. I said, let's keep our opinions to ourselves and not share them. If you want to have your own, chats and do whatever you want to do, I'm not going to have our morning lineup is every day at 8:15. And, there's like 12 of us on it from the corporate team. And there's 4 that work in our office here in California. And then they're spread out in Houston and Minneapolis. I said, I'm not going to put up with just, let's rehash the news of yesterday. Okay. And of course,
Right.
Politics being so, like devastating what's going on on both sides, everybody like up in arms. So that helped us stay positive. Now we're just going forward. The one thing I will say is I have recognized that the circle of friends has gotten smaller for me because I have decided I just can't talk with you anymore. I just can't. I didn't call and break up with them. I just stopped. And it's funny because they didn't really call and ask like, what's wrong? So I know we weren't that good of friends anyway. I mean, it's like I've had thousands of acquaintances and very few friends. And so I basically have my circle has gotten smaller. All right. I've got a really good handful of family and friends that I am very close with and I can talk to at any time. The rest of them, I decided I'm not having you in my space. And that I think is important for everyone, that this time has given us time to go, wow, I see a side of you that I don't really like, whatever side that is. The other thing is that
the toilet paper hoarding side of people.
Oh yeah. Well, right now in California, we're in a lockdown again, and they, our governor put a curfew. People are out picketing, and and although I'd love to be out picketing because there's no way I think a curfew like this. Don't even tell me what I can and cannot do. But at the moment that happened, just as you said, we're at the store and all the paper towel and toilet paper gone. I don't get it. I looked at my husband and I said, share with me why. First of all, they've never shut grocery stores anywhere. So they haven't shut Target or Walmart. Like, why do people go with the toilet paper? I don't know. But
I think it's a great, right. It's a great sort of example of why you want to stay positive, because if you get into this fear mindset, right, it's
terrible.
Yes.
And again, this is what, and my parents are 86 years old and I just had my COVID test and I'm going to fly there. And, I've been flying. So I've been tested every 2 days a week for the last 6 weeks because of the project we were on. But I am going to go and we're going to see them. And then I'll see my daughter and we're going to split up and I'll go have Thanksgiving with my daughter. My parents will be with my sister and just to smaller groups. But my mom and dad, they're at home. They've been at home since March. Okay. My sister helps make sure they have their groceries. My mom does go out. My dad doesn't. They go to their doctors and all that. But the fear of getting this is so scary to them. And I try to present some things and then I can just tell, I go, okay, Mom, man, I spin them up. So there's no need. And that's what I decided with some friends. They would try to spin me up like every day. I don't, when I get off work, and I work all day long, on webinars, doing things like this, we're getting ready for a huge, live sales training workshop for one of our clients. And so when I get off this, I'll be on with my team. We'll be finalizing that. So if I'm done at 5 in my office, then I go home and then we, sit out on our fire pit and we have a drink. I don't click on the news. And I found at the beginning of this, I did click on the news just so you could see, like, I was waiting for the, oh, it's all over, the 14 days to flatten the curve. And then I recognized I was getting like so depressed myself because the news is awful no matter what channel you're on. Okay. And so I finally said, okay, none of that. So then we set out by the fire pit, have a little cocktail like you would if you're at a hotel. That's my mind. I pretend I'm at the fire pits at Spanish Bay, Pebble Beach, and make myself like fun. Then we have dinner, and then we would watch, something on Netflix like everybody else does, and, get a good night's sleep. I will say I've always slept a lot, but I definitely sleep 8 hours a night, and it's really healthy, and that's good for you. So that's how I've stayed positive. I keep saying this is not my new normal, but it's definitely my next. It like had to take it on because it just kept going forever.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think, the negative headlines, right? And so if you have friends in your circle that are negative headlines, if you have news in your life that are negative headlines, I read the news. I stay very much on top of it. I try to stay aware, but I think there's a big difference between reading trusted,
for sure.
reading trusted news sources versus reading the negative headlines from friends on Facebook and all that.
Right. Same thing with us. Yeah. And we're very current. And, don't get me wrong. We turn on the news every day at some point. Usually it's in the morning when I'm getting ready just to see.
I can't imagine you're training hotel professionals if you don't know what's going on with
exactly. We basically, I watch a typhoon hits the Philippines, not like a week and a half ago, and one of my biggest clients is there. So, we're reaching out. So I know it. And then I read all the hotel news and all the hospitality news and all that. I'm all about that. But I watch, every day, usually in the morning when I'm getting ready and then having some coffee and some breakfast. And then I go to work so that I do know what's going on. But it was the at night, late night talk, I can't do it because it's just negative. And then, and just fighting. And so I just said, well, we just can't do this constantly.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think, I really appreciate the media, and, we got this big thing in this country about, the media and how bad it is and everything, but it's what we choose as consumers. If we choose to go out and buy toilet paper, that's what we get, right? That's the way it happens. If we go out and we choose to consume negative headlines, I think that is what we're going to get, and that's social. That's what the social media algorithms feed off of. It was very interesting to me to see, the things that are taking off on social media, and the reason the headlines get so much attention is because people let themselves emotionally get involved in them.
Right.
So, to stay positive, I think if you put your emotions behind the positivity, I think that is great.
Right. Right.
Talk to me about what 2021 and 2022 is looking like. I love the fact that you call your today team the tomorrow team, right? I am very excited about 2022. I know that we're going through interesting times right now. I'm really excited about what I'm doing right now. I had somebody tell me early on in this as I was pivoting, you might enjoy what you're doing now more than what you're doing before. I certainly hear that in that person that is hearing your message and saying, I don't want to work for free. Wait, but I'm not getting paid. All right, you know what? Cindy says, go and talk to my hotel, make sure that I'm taking advantage of this opportunity. I may be in a better position than I was before.
Yeah, because as a top producer, if you think about it, if you really were a rainmaker, okay, if you went to them and said, look, I'll work for straight commission, no different than if you paid a rep firm, third party, give me 10% of everything I bring in. Same thing if we're doing it off rooms, whatever it might be. Give me 10% and let me go see what I can do. You don't no salary, no benefits. I'll sign an independent contractor agreement. And if you're good, you'll make more money than you made on salary, and you and I know it. So It's like, wow. I mean, you might find that you can do that. Event planners, think about it. If you were the event planner at the property or for venues, right? And all you did was take the leads. What if you went out there and found the leads? I mean, to me, unless you just want to go get a job somewhere else, there is an opportunity to stay with, the company you were with in a different way. And I think 2021 for me, we've got business in the spring on the books. So unless borders will be closed, which I just cannot imagine that it's going to go that long. I do think 2021 will be still a bit rocky, but I do think that for us, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel just based on the work that we've done the last probably 4 months of this whole, pandemic.
Absolutely. Really want to send thank yous to our scientific community for making these vaccines. We got 3 companies in the news with potential vaccines that are going to be available potentially even, I think, before the end of the month. So 2021, I think, looks very promising for our healthcare workers, our healthcare heroes.
I'll be the first one. Just jab it right there. I mean, I have friends that don't like vaccines. I get the flu shot every year. I've got my yellow vaccine card because I travel all over the world. You can't go to Brazil unless you've had these 5 shots, and the country doesn't care. They're like, show me your vaccine. So I've been getting vaccines for so long. So I don't even care. I will be the first one in line going, you can hit that jab right there. Okay.
I know this strikes a political, tone, but, I just, the folks that are against something like a vaccine, I just wonder, well, do you not want your hotel health inspected? Do you not want, you think about examples of regulations and things that we do for the public good. All right, so should we not do any of the things that make you safe?
Exactly.
Filter your water.
We don't know, we don't want our country to be, governed and telling us what to do. I get that. And my friends that don't like vaccines, they don't believe in them, I don't even argue. I'm like, I don't care. I get all my vaccines. My daughter, when she was young, now she's grown and married, she got all hers. Okay. And so it's what I think, though, and this is what I say, because I pull out my yellow vaccine card. I call it because you need it. So I have an international travel doctor that when I'm going into, the Middle East or I'm going to certain places, you don't get in without showing that. That's like I went to Turks and Caicos a few months ago to a meeting. And if you didn't have we had to have 2 different types of COVID tests done. We had to have I'm going like this because I had a file of paperwork to show that I could safely get into that country. So what I think is going to happen, and again, I am not in any medical CDC, anything, right? I think what's probably going to happen is that international travel, these same countries that said you have to have your malaria shot, you have to have this, you have to have that, you can't come in without this, they might be the ones saying you don't come in without that vaccine, right? So people that are here well, I'm never going to get it. Well, then they may not be going to some of the places they want. Now, this is all fake news, really, because I'm making it up right now. I just think that's how I look at it. I go, oh, why did I have to get all these vaccines prior to this to be able to enter Brazil, to go into South America, to go into certain places? So we'll see.
No, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I think more than ever before, people are going to be looking to make sure that, we're not bringing something across the lines that shouldn't be there and could potentially shut down their country. And vice versa. We don't want something that's crossing our border and that's going to shut down our country, right? So I think that's incredibly important. And I think it's forward looking. And I think that, everybody needs to get on board with the idea that, we do certain things to make sure that my brother and my sister are safe as we roll in and look to the science to it. I think clean is clean. If I picking up a fork or a knife, I want to make sure that there's not asbestos on it. I want there's simple things that we all have as expectations in the industry. And when we talk, that goes back to that theater piece, right? I want to understand and know that everybody gets it and is on the same page. It's a united front, and we know that safety is the priority. For hotel industry, is there anything that you're seeing right now besides tenting areas outside? I love some of the ideas because this goes back to something that was really big and will continue to be big as we go forward, talking about green, making sure that we have green practices, corporate social responsibility. Are you seeing some things much like the CSR pieces of green initiatives, that there are some cost savings, some things that are adding to the bottom line? on the safety front and these outdoor spaces?
Well, first of all, the whole green and, corporate social responsibility, like here in California, was thrown out the window the minute COVID came, because up until COVID, you had to pay if you wanted a plastic bag, you had to bring your own bags, and then they grossed them and everything. And there was no plastic straws. Now that it's all gone back. Okay. So now if you bring your own bag to the grocery store, you have to bag it yourself. So many people are just like, there we go back to plastic again. Plastic forks, you go take out everything. They're not spending the money to have, the ones made out of plants and all these different things that they were doing before, because that actually costs more money. So I'm seeing that kind of everybody lost their plot when it came to plastics and all this stuff. Okay. Where I am seeing the money that is being made is less labor. So you don't have as many people serving. And so hotels, restaurants, you don't have housekeeping every single day. So hotels and restaurants have been able to balance that by actually making more profit because they have less labor. Now, back to the green initiative. That was already, in some cases, some people faked it long ago of, put the duck on the bed so we won't make your bed, because we're trying to save water, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That was all to save costs. I mean, that's now I don't need as many people in housekeeping, that sort of thing. I think now what's going to happen is, if you really look at what's proper, it's china and dishes and silver where we can wash it really well, and you're not contributing to, big landfills and things like that. I've seen people do some clever things with that, with room service in luxury hotels, because some have been horrific, where they bring you, your dinner, it's in a pizza box. Okay. It's really? I mean, seriously. And you're spending, for this nice little meal, $50, and it's in a pizza box, right? So I think I've seen some be very clever, where the cart, it's like a tea cart, not like the big room service, the silver with the hot. This is almost like a tea cart, depending on what you're getting, with the ice buckets, the glasses, the food, the china, the this, and then they have a warmer or cooler that they've added. That has allowed people to have a better experience, because someone like me, I hate room service, always have hated room service. Okay. Never, even during good times, I got up every morning, went down and had breakfast. Even on my own, I never eat in my room alone. I like sitting at a bar and eating. So I've had to.
I was going to say, I think you probably want the social aspect.
Oh yeah, no. So, but in some cases, I've had to have the room service because that's all you could do during certain lockdowns where there was nothing open. And so the ones that were clever took the experience and put it on steroids. They took the experience and said, yes, you can still eat off china. Why wouldn't I? I hate eating off paper. I hate eating with paper forks and knives and spoons and stuff that doesn't, cutting a fillet with a paper knife, or not a paper knife, but a plastic knife. Joke. So if you're getting it to go, different story, because then you're going to take it home and you're going to put it on your own dishes. So I think there's where I've seen some people really create some clever ways of elevating the experience and making you feel safe, because I always felt safe in a hotel like that. And the china was always clean and the silver was always clean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I compare it to kosher. I don't know if I'm sure you're probably familiar.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Idea, because you can do kosher on china. It's
right.
You have to have the part of the kitchen and all the aspects that go with it. But a lot of people just kind of do it the easy way and have all the plastic stuff that has, it's all, wrapped and sealed and da-da-da. And so everybody's eating off china, and then kosher meal comes and they got, plastic stuff in front of them.
And I think it's ridiculous. I've always said that, figure it out. And again, I've worked with hotels that had kosher kitchens and things that were good, and then others that didn't. And that's what would happen. The poor person sitting at the table is, and again, I'll give you another example of that they did really, really well in New York. This was in February. And I went with a friend of mine. I mean, half of the people that was like half Jewish, half not, but some of the Jewish people were not kosher. So it's like a mixture. And it was a Greek restaurant, really unbelievable, over the top. I can't even think of the name of it right now, but it's so great. And the gentleman next to me asked to have the I think it was salmon or whatever it was, kosher, the kosher. They brought it out on a plate with this parchment paper under it, like you would cook the fish anyway. And it was so fabulous. And then the silver was like sealed, like, hermetically sealed, like my nail salon does, right? So they clearly had done something. And it was the first time I ever saw that. And I thought, okay, that's very, very well done, because he's sitting next to me and I'm eating mine, he's eating his, and his actually looked kind of better than mine. I was like, what's wrong with that meal, right?
Grass is greener.
Yeah, exactly. I had menu envy for a moment.
Yeah, I think that it's such a great example of, our industry, hospitality industry in particular, but the world. You can choose to do things in a certain way where you do it and you're caring and you understand what you want the experience to be, or you can do what is, just throw it out there and
make it simple for yourself. Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting. I really appreciate the piece on the green piece, because we were moving towards water pitchers and water fountains, and now it's going to be really interesting as we move into a post-COVID vaccine world, what sticks and what doesn't. I wonder if we're going to move quickly back to the CSR. Obviously, global warming is a big deal. There's so much global impact, so many challenges.
Right.
And then there's the cost things, the corporate space,
right.
Seen the cost savings, right? So what will that world look like? I'm really interested to see how it all comes out.
Because I look at CSR, I go corporate social responsibility. And then there were times I go, cost savings ripoff. I mean, it's like they're just trying to. So like an example real quick on the water, I have always said water bottles were the biggest waste, like the actual water, not your own water bottle, but putting out all these plastic bottles. No offense, Fiji and all of you, right, Evian. But at some point, hotels got very clever in filtering their own water. So the only time I ever drank bottled water was when I was traveling international, because I didn't have time to have my tummy have a rumble. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then once hotels got really clever in filtering, and it would say filtered water on and on, I carry my Yeti everywhere I go. I fill it up at the airports. I think it's so clever now. I haven't bought a bottle of water and I can't tell you how long, because at every fountain, they may have the water fountain closed off, but they've got the little button to push to fill up your Yeti. And that kind of stuff should stay. And all of that should stay. So we're not wasting. And I don't care if my sheets are changed. When I'm in a hotel for 3 or 4 days, I put the duct down. I don't change my own bed at home every single night. I like it made though. So, I want it made, but you don't have to change it. That does save on chemicals. It does save on water. It does save, but it also saves on labor. Right?
Absolutely. No, I appreciate all those things. I am personally of the mind, like, I want a different experience when I go away. So yes, make my bed, clean the room.
Yeah, I want my bed made.
And they're all the hotels offering you credit if you don't, you put the thing on the door so they don't come in. I'm like, no, come in, clean it. Let's go. I want a different experience.
New towels. I want new towels. I like to be able to, at home, I might throw it over my shower door and then I use it one more day. I like a clean towel. Yeah.
All right. So talk to me about the training that you're offering right now, how people can get in touch with you. Who do you want to get connected with?
Anybody that, we're training. 60% of our business is hospitality, but 40 is corporate. So, we work with law firms, with banks. We work with lots of big call and contact centers. We're doing a lot in health and wellness. We're doing training with virtual doctors, real estate, cannabis, because that's been very popular in states that it's legal. We've been doing a ton of training in that world too. We focus on sales, leadership, and service, and we can do anything online. But we are doing a lot on, going in and physically meeting everybody. But you can see our websites pulled up right here at, masterconnection.com. You can reach out to me, Cindy Novotny at masterconnection.com. I'm on Instagram, and I'm Cindy Novotny everywhere. I was an early adapter, so I'm Cindy_Novotny on Instagram, and Cindy Novotny on Facebook, and LinkedIn, Cindy Novotny. And I get back to everybody right away. I've got a team that is working, and we can, hook you up and do whatever you need.
Yeah, I'm going to remind folks that they have your LinkedIn link as well as the websites down below on the YouTube feed, over to the right on the or left on the Facebook feed. Get connected with Cindy. She is an amazing speaker to have at your event. She's an amazing trainer to have in your company. Cindy, thank you so much for doing this. I want to provide you the opportunity to say goodbye to everybody. And again, just let people know one more time how they can reach you.
All right. Again, thank you for, having me. I really do appreciate it. I want you to remember that when you leave here today, you just have to figure out what it is you want to have your future look like. And I can help you with that. We're doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. Just Cindy Novotny at masterconnection.com. You can call us at our office. Not very many people call, but it's 949-589-6137. So I look forward to hearing from many of you. And again, Cameron, thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show.
Thank you, Cindy. Hang out for me.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C.